South32 is one of the most bizarre internet anomalies I've ever come across, having ties to a man that's just as enigmatic as the website he's tied to. And so, in this video, we're gonna dive headfirst into this internet rabbit hole. Before we begin talking about whatever the frick South32.com is, let me set the stage and introduce you to some of our key players. This right here is a mining company located in Melbourne, Australia called BHP Group Limited, formerly known as BHP Billiton, and in May of 2015 it would split off into another mining company called South32. The reason I bring this up is because these two related companies are indeed legitimate, with BHP Group being one of the biggest mining companies in the world. Now if you look up South32, the first result you'll get is the official website, south32.net, a very clean and professional looking site juxtaposed to the unofficial and chaotic South32.com. And I want you to take note of this difference between the two sites because this is where things start to become interesting. At around December of 2014, an article by Smart Company was written about how BHP Billiton missed out on registering the domain for their spin-off company, with said domain being South32.com of course. However, there was just one problem. That domain was already owned by another company in the US. Quote, according to Fairfax, the Californian company has attempted to sell the domain to BHP for a sum of $10 million. The company in question being the Caribbean Film Company. Caribbean is an admittedly pretty shady character, so let me lay out what I discovered about him for you. As his company name suggests, he makes films, and taking a look at IMDb, we can see that he has a couple of projects under his belt, one of them of course being titled South32, and it seems like these are legitimate full-length films that are readily available on sites like YouTube or the Wayback Machine. Going back to IMDb and looking at the page for the South32 film is where things start to become interesting. Instead of seeing some sort of trailer for the movie, I was met with this really odd video that I want you to watch at least a minute of because this will bring us to the next checkpoint of this internet rabbit hole. And before we watch, I'm just going to warn you right now that there are some occasional obnoxious sounds playing throughout, but anyways, let's now get into the video.
South32 spin-off is bullying the original South32 2011 owners mafia style. Does too much power give you the right to threaten the people and their families? Block their website to stop their sales? Put up lies online? We have all the proofs. We will take legal action against you. South32.com. BHP Billiton South32 spin-off false advertisements against the original South32 company is putting the lives of our cast and crew in danger. If anything happened to us, we will hold your companies liable and responsible. He is endangering Luigi Bien's life. The police must stop this madman. Luigi Bien is not a Somalian human. Hacker. Luigi Bien is an American Citizen Award-winning film producer. We will report your threats to the FBI. Luigi Bien is the original creator of South32, since March 2012. You are the copycat. The police are on you with your phone.
That was a bizarre video to say the least, having made some pretty out there claims, and there is more to this video, but I wanted to let it run for a minute because there were some things mentioned that'll take us deeper into this rabbit hole, so let's begin by dissecting what this video is telling us. First of all, the video implies that the official South32 company, the one spun out of BHP, is threatening in some sort of way the original South32.com, and by extension the film company, since the video mentions how the lives of their cast and crew are in danger. Now like I previously mentioned, it was in 2015 that South32 was spun out of BHP Billiton, meaning that there was preparation leading up to this point. However, there was an oversight in securing the domain for South32.com, which had already been registered since April 3rd, 2012, and this is where I want to bring up the name mentioned in the video, Luigi Bien. As we previously established, Caribbean is the owner of the film company responsible for making the South32 movie. However, if we take a look at the credits, we see that someone named Luigi Bien helped write the film. If it isn't obvious, these are the same person, and and the further we dig, the stronger this correlation becomes. Going to Luigi's IMDb page, we see some what I can only refer to as South32 propaganda, similar to what we see on the site itself. But let's take a step back because I want to talk about the date the domain was registered. Although I wasn't able to find who initially secured it in 2012, according to a domain search engine called Woxy, from what I can see, the earliest instance of anyone having acquired the domain was on September 30th, 2016 by, of course, Luigi Bean. And if you look right next to his name, we can see that he has over 6,000 domains under his belt. Checking out the list of said domains, there's a couple of interesting things here to note. If you go to almost any one of these links, it'll redirect you to a South32 related page. For example, if we go to asiannews.org, at the moment it leads to onecentstock.com containing more South32 propaganda. Furthermore, majority of the sites listed here were registered from the late 90s to early 2000s, and checking out more of Luigi's sites, we see that on some, both Kari Bean and Luigi Bean are listed as past owners, and despite the fact that a lot of these sites were bought back in the late 90s or early 2000s, they're still being updated in terms of ownership, with the most recent across a bunch of them being November 2023, for example. The very first site on the list, Realty.com, was registered in 1998 and updated in November 2023. However, there's yet another interesting thing to note, and that is the current owner of a lot of these sites, that being Joella Privacy, a service dedicated to hiding domain owners' names. And now I realize there's a lot to unpack here, and the rabbit hole of domains belonging to Luigi Bean only gets deeper. Like, for example, this one domain called akjobs.com at one point was registered by both Luigi Bean and his film company, but is currently registered by a company in California called Los Angeles News, who owns over 30,000 domains. And going to one of these sites, for example, I clicked on step19.com, and not only does it redirect to the South32 site, but we also see Kari Bean listed as a previous owner, and there's even an address listed here, located in California, which again is where the Kari Bean film company was said to have been based. But I'm gonna dive into all that a little bit later. And I could keep going on and on, but there's one detail about the domains that'll take us even further, that being the registration date of a lot of Luigi's sites being in the 90s. Bruh, I just woke up. Breath so hot, you can smell it through the camera. What the freak am I saying, bruh? Let me stop acting dumb. Let me tell you guys why I'm here disrupting your video. I genuinely want to continue to put more effort, more time, and up the production value of my videos. If you listen to all the music in these videos, if you've been, you know, paying attention, I made it all myself. I produced all the tracks myself. I plan on making a wholly original music. Through your support on Patreon, I was able to buy FL Studio, cook up some freaking music, bro. So only if you can. There is absolutely no obligation. Please do not feel that way. Consider supporting me on Patreon. I have two tiers, the $3.50 and a $5 tier. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna edit. October 29th, 2020. That was the day Nexpo uploaded this video, and 15 seconds in, he mentioned South32, albeit briefly, which is how I initially found out about this mystery. But from here, I went to go see if there were videos about it, and I did find a few by fellow creators Scared Theater, Internet Carnage, and Elder's Vault, all of which you can find in the basement below, along with all of my other sources. But as of right now, I want to highlight Elder's Vault's videos about the topic. In this video, he mentions Los Angeles News, a company, as we previously established, has ties to South32, which also owns over 30,000 domains. The part of the video that I wanted to highlight in particular is the part where he mentioned the losangelesnews.com website. If we go to the Wayback Machine, we can see that snapshots of the site date as far back as 1999. And now, before we go any further, I think I owe you a brief recap on what we talked about up until this point, because through what we'll discuss very shortly, we can see patterns and draw parallels on Luigi Bean's extensive online history. And so first of all, we know about BHP Group Limited, the company that spawned South32, and by extension the official South32.net website. Second, we know that a man who goes by multiple names, Luigi Bean, owns the unofficial South32.com domain. Luigi Bean also owns a film company called Kari Bean Film Company. We also know Luigi has ill will towards South32 and related companies, and he feels like they're not only endangering him, but also his cast and crew. We know Luigi owns a whole lot of domains under multiple names and companies. And lastly, we know Luigi has ties to another company called Los Angeles News and their website. So now let's go there and see what's up with this site. And now I won't dive deep into this site, but what I will say say is that it provides us with some clues to move us along, that being this site bashing big companies, much like what we see on Luigi's South32. But as we can see here on the left side, there's 3 companies in particular the site is claiming to be bad, them being Network Solutions, VeriSign, and NetSol, all of which are used for registering domains. This is interesting to note because as we established, Luigi not only has thousands of domains registered, but also happens to be very outspoken when it comes to companies he doesn't like. However, there's something different about this disdain Luigi has for one of the companies in particular that clearly has a big old red X over it on the site, that being VeriSign. Listen up, bro. I get it. I understand. I freaking, like, this is a lot to wrap your head around. This is a lot to absorb. I understand, but listen up, bro. Let me, you know what I'm saying? You don't need to understand and know each and every single little motherfucking minute motherfucking detail, okay, to understand where we're headed with all of this. So we left off at LosAngelesNews.com, right? You know, that freaking site, right? You know what I'm saying? You've been paying attention, right? You've been paying attention. I'm gonna quiz you after. And we also know about the company that, you know, had the X over it, VeriSign. But backtracking to Elder's Vault's video just for a second, there's one detail I purposely left out because this is gonna begin to tie everything together, and everything we've been talking about up until this point has, like, pretty much been leading up to this one name, and that name that was mentioned in the video that's gonna tie everything together is Saeed Yamtabayan. You know what I'm saying? Saeed Yamtabayan. Looking up this name alongside VeriSign led me to a Wired article made February 5th, 2003. Quote, Saeed Yamtabayan owned 78,472 internet domains when he threatened to sue VeriSign in July of 2001, claiming that VeriSign software had deleted as many as 2,000 of the domain names that Yamtabayan had registered. He sought $6.5 million in damages. This case seems to have been dropped, but Yamtabayan now offers his domain name registration service. Furthermore, when I was doing research into Saeed Yamtabayan, I stumbled across a few documents, one of them containing a complaint from Fox against Saeed in regards to domain names, which dates all the way back to December 18th, 2000, and doing further research into this name takes us even further back, specifically to what I'm pretty sure is a government bill on cybersquatting made sometime in January 2000. And going to page 12, quote, some of the cyber pirates are so blatant that they actually register the name with the for sale sign in their domain name registration with Network Solutions. For example, the domain name Porsche.com, another hardcore site, was registered under the fictitious name Domain for Sale and Company. A copy of the Network Solutions who was listing for the registrant of this domain name is attached as Exhibit 4. Going to Exhibit 4, we can see that Saeed Yamtabayan is listed as the administrative contact for that domain. Furthermore, I stumbled across a book published in 2004 called Internet Babylon: Secrets, Scandals, and Shocks on the Information Superhighway, and on page 176 of the book we can see that it says in 1997 Saeed registered 2 sites, Alavista.com and Altaista.com. And looking around online, I once again stumbled across a document with the complaint from the Alta Vista company against Saeed Yamtabayan in regards to those domains which were transferred to them because they believed the domains were being used in bad faith, having led to explicit content, and because, quote, the domain names are confusingly similar to the Alta Vista trademark in which the complainant has rights. Digging even deeper in the same book on page 175, it mentions how there's, quote, websites allegedly run by a father and son team named Saeed and Daniel Yamtabayan, and so yet another name enters the picture, Daniel Yamtabayan. And looking into this name alongside Saeed's brought me to this BuzzFeed article written by Craig Silverman, and here's where things start to make a lot more sense. Daniel, much like Saeed, has a pretty shady past online. Quote, ad fraud researchers, advertising companies, and ad tech professionals have known about Yamtabayan for years. News articles called out his alleged schemes as early as 2003, and he has been sued for allegedly helping force malicious software onto PCs. He was also the owner of a myriad of malicious Google Chrome extensions, and the article goes over some more shady practices he's been involved in, but the part of this article that I really wanted to highlight is the following. Quote, in 2002, Yamtabayan grew up in the Los Angeles area and started buying domains and building websites while in college. Soon, scores of websites owned by Yamtabayan or his father, Saeed, advertised the toolbar for download. Saeed, who did not respond to an emailed request for comment, later changed his name to Luigi Caribbean and is now a low-budget film producer. This now brings us full circle, and we now know that the person we've been talking about until now, Saeed Yamtabayan, is actually Luigi Bean, and we now know that this one man, along with his son Daniel Yamtabayan to some extent, have been the mastermind behind everything from LosAngelesNews.com to the thousands of domains registered, to the film company, and of course South32.com. And so what's really going on here with South32.com and the tens of thousands of domains in Luigi's possession? Well, in the previous videos I brought up, they all mentioned how this could all be some sort of cyber squatting scheme scheme. And for those who don't know what that is, it's the following. Quote, the practice of registering names, especially well-known company or brand names, as internet domains in the hope of reselling them at a profit, which of course is illegal and makes a lot of sense actually, and this does indeed seem to be the case, as there's so many mentions of all of Luigi's names having some sort of involvement in cyber squatting schemes, and if you keep digging, you'll find complaint after complaint from various companies in regards to issues with domains, including the official South32 company. As a matter of fact, when I was just clicking on random things on a site, it downloaded this folder to my computer containing a document regarding the South32.com domain. Apparently, the South32 mining company attempted to file some sort of complaint against Luigi's South32 site and the copyrighted material associated with it, having the following contentions: identical or confusingly similar, rights or legitimate interests, registered and used in bad faith, very similar to a lot of complaints other companies such as AltaVista had against him, and as a result, the domains a company like AltaVista had contention with Luigi owning were ultimately transferred to said company. However, Luigi as a respondent in a nutshell clapped back, and the official South32 mining company's complaint was ultimately denied, so Luigi literally took a freaking W right there, bro. And all of this is an admittedly pretty interesting read, so it'll be in the pastebin along with everything else, but I guess this partially answers why Luigi has an ongoing beef with South32 and BHP. Another interesting thing to note is that in the same folder that the site downloaded to my computer, there's two photos of trademark patents for South32, and these do indeed seem to be legitimate, as going to the United States Patent and Trademark Office website and comparing the details confirms this to be true. Also within the folder is a pretty ironic image I assume either Luigi or someone he knows put together, basically accusing BHP and South32 to be cyber squatters, which funnily enough Luigi's name and his multiple aliases have been tied to. Overall, there's genuinely so much I didn't talk about in this video because there's just so many rabbit holes this mystery can take us down, and on top of that, just taking a look at the amount of snapshots on the Wayback Machine of South32.com shows us how this site is always changing, to the point where I could have probably spent an hour going through each and every single little thing I found, but I'm not a full-time YouTuber yet, and if you want to help me get there, you can support the Patreon. But anyways, maybe sometime in the future we'll revisit this topic, or maybe someone like Barely Sociable and Expo will make a video about it. I don't freaking know. They'd probably do a better job at covering this than I could, but regardless, I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Your support is truly like freaking like literally like motherfucking amazing, and it really freaking does mean the world to me. So yeah, thank you guys, and I will see you in the next one. Deuces.